My sister asked her deadbeat, absentee birth father to walk her down the aisle, instead of the man who raised her. Now none of them attended the wedding. Part 2. I don't know if this is the update everyone wants. Tiff is still not back from her honeymoon, but I did ask my parents about the stuff at the rehearsal. Took me a few days to work up the nerve. For those of you who guessed it was all about money, you get the rainbow sticker on your chart. After a year of being married and Jeff doing nothing, my mom told him she wanted a divorce. Jeff knew his dad would never give him anything if he got divorced, at least not anytime soon. He begged my mom to stay just until he got the money, then they'd divorce and she would get half. My mom agreed. However, she also decided she was divorced in her mind. She began going out, and that is where she met my dad and began seeing him behind Jeff's back. I asked why all the secrecy if you were both just in it for the money, and she said it was because if she was caught being unfaithful she figured Jeff might have a reason to divorce her without falling out with his father. She messed up and got pregnant by my dad. I asked wouldn't Jeff know it wasn't his, if you were just faking the marriage. She said this is probably TMI, but once I knew I was pregnant, I took a few for the team. Gross. When Tiff was born, Jeff went on the birth certificate. She waited 3 years in hopes of getting that money until she had her fill and divorced him. She hadn't given up though. She knew Jeff was a fuck-up and likely would never get his life together. So if she kept up with the hoax, that Tiff was his daughter, then maybe Tiff could get the money. My mom said this ended up being a long con, which she only said to sound cool. I know she learned that term from watching Lost. Luckily, Jeff's dad was not a present grandparent. He didn't want to see her ever. Mom said he's one of those children are to be seen, not heard types of people. She would send him pictures and letters of all of Tiff's accomplishments. When Jeff just disappeared from their lives, she kept it up. It took another 8 years, but she eventually convinced this man, who by this point had totally given up on his son, to give Jeff's share to Tiff. It was $350,000. Tiff was 15 by this point, and Jeff's father was still around. My mom feared some sort of legal repercussions if the truth came out, so she never said anything. Jeff had been gone for 8 years. Tiff and our dad had really bonded. She had been calling him dad for years by this point. My mom said she was wrong but to not tell Tiff at some point, but with all the things I said above she thought all was going fine, no need to mess it up. The money was all spent on Tiff. It covered her 4.5 years of college, plus grad school, a new car when she graduated HS, rent when she moved out of the dorms after freshman year, and a monthly allowance of mad money. The remainder was used for the wedding and honeymoon. My parents make good money, but we aren't rich. Jeff's dad died about 2.5 years ago. My mom knows that Jeff went for his inheritance and found out it had already been given to Tiff. That was the first 6 months he was back and trying to be in her life. My mom told me after about 6 months he asked my mom about it and she told him it was all gone. That's when he disappeared again. She had hoped this was the last they would ever hear from him. My mom decided it had been so long she was just going to let the lie stay. She regrets that now but figured why disrupt everyone's harmony. But then Jeff came back and has been around the whole year. He just won't seem to leave. Tiff kept getting closer. My mom kept hoping he would eventually just fuck up or disappear, but it didn't happen. When my dad started to get cut out, it upset them, and they said they both made a poor decision, but they wanted Jeff gone. They hoped Tiff would pick my dad, and when that didn't happen they outed the whole thing. They regret the wedding situation, and not telling her long ago, but know what's done is done. They said they'll do everything to make it up to her when she returns, and need me to continue being a good brother to her.